fake when I first saw it. It is not. So for the first time in history, we have an International Congress of Noahides set for this November. Now, this will be hosted by the Noahide World Center, and the objectives include to formally establish the World Noahide Movement, to establish the first international Noahide court system with judges from Jerusalem and reps from each continent, and then they want to elect 6 continental councils to develop regional plans. You can go on their website and read all about it, but I wanted to address why Christians need to understand what this is. Now, these 7 laws resemble the 10 commandments, and that is why a lot of Christians don't understand the issue here. They don't understand, well, these are all good things, right? Prohibiting idolatry, prohibiting blasphemy, prohibiting sexual immorality. These are all good things, and they look like the 10 commandments, so what's the big deal? The big deal is you will not find this specific set of laws that were given to Adam. They say the first 6 apparently were given to Adam, and then the 7th was given to Noah. It was added on for Noah. Nowhere in the scriptures, nowhere in the living word of God will you find that. The 7 Noahide laws are derived from the Talmud. Now, I recommend for everybody to take their own time, do their own research, and look into what is written in that. This is just one example. You can pause and read if you need. Now, what is the main issue for Christians with the 7 Noahide laws? The main issue is that they do not recognize the Lord Jesus Christ as God. That means that they serve another God. You cannot deny that Jesus Christ is God, the Lord Jesus Christ is God, and still have.
Hey, Shalom. Before we get started, I'd like to give all glory, all praise, all honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. This is Thamayim in Atlanta, and you just heard Ashley Hayes going into the Noahide laws that they plan to put in place in November. Worldwide, they say, or it's a worldwide initiative. And, this is going to be some of the foundation of their NWO that they want to bring onto the world. These are the laws that they expect the Goyim to live by, to abide by. And as she said, it's not biblical. She's going into the prohibition of idolatry, which, Christians aren't going to be able to worship so-called JC, whose true name is Yahweh Shai. And so calling on JC does not matter because it's a false name. It's connected directly to that false white image, and it's all blasphemy anyway. So no one cares about the Christians here. They're gonna get it because they're so stupid and can't tell that they've been given lies as well. But this affects us with not calling on Yahweh Shai, because they can't take that away, but preaching the name of Yahweh Shai on the highways and byways. This could lead to the famine of the word, and we know that it is soon to come. So this could be one of those ways that the famine of the word comes. But I want to take a look at this list from Wikipedia. And she's correct. This does come from the Talmud, and not from the Bible, in which we know of the 10 Commandments, but it was never spoken of these Noahide laws within the Bible. And so let's take a look at it. Number 1 is not to worship idols. And these Amalekites, because that's who they are, they're not the Lord's people. That's Amalek, the first of the nations. Who else could you call the first of the nations besides those Ish people, the tiny tops over there? That's Amalek, and they are of the nation of Edom. The nation of Edom as a whole, so-called white people. Those Ishes are just so-called white people pretending to be the Lord's people. And so-called white people make up Idumea. White people, the Ish people, and anyone of that bloodline, anyone who through their father's lineage comes from Esau. And so Esau's actually scattered himself throughout the four corners of the earth. So there's going to be Edomites looking like every single nation. There's going to be Moabite looking Edomites, which the Moabites are the Chinese. They're going to look like that. There's going to be Hamite looking Edomites, who are the Hamites are the Africans. They're going to look like everyone. And vice versa. With the Israelites, we're scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, primarily making up the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, but we're going to come back looking like all the other nations. Even some of us are going to look like Edomites, so-called white people, or like Amalekites, so-called Ish people. We're going to come back looking like all these other nations, just like they look like all the other nations. But that's besides the point. Not to worship idols. JC is an idol. So that's fine for that to be cast out. But they will try to target Yahweh Shai. You even remember a few years ago, there were these signs put up saying Yahweh Shai is coming back. And they called that hate speech. But it's not hate, considering that is the Messiah. That is the Lord's Son who's coming back to remove those people from power. It's not hate, it's just justice. And it's just judgment. It's them being judged, but they lack judgment, so they can't even understand. This is number 2, not to curse God. And here, you would think it's talking about the Most High, but these devils consider themselves gods. They're megalomaniacs, and they have taken and put themselves into the position of being the Lord's people. And really, all of Edom, you look at them, those tiny tops pretending to be the Lord's people in the Lord's land. And then you got this other part of Edom that are calling themselves the Christians. These are just books they've stolen from people. Even, look at this, the Babylonian Talmud. The Israelites aren't Babylonians. Why would those two even be close to each other? The Israelites went off the Bible, but these guys go off the Talmud. That should raise questions right there. And then the Christians, it's just a book that they stole and they don't understand. And they've produced a whole false doctrine around it, celebrating pagan holidays, telling the world that the laws are done away with. It's some wicked stuff. It's extremely wicked. Both of these practices are extremely wicked. But back to number 2, not to curse God. They think themselves as being gods. So that's where the anti-Shamawama comes in, the anti-S stuff that they always talk about. That's when it will actually be a real hardcore penalty. They'll be treating it like it's blasphemy. I'm going to go here because Marco Rubio said some stuff not too long ago. And he wants to prosecute people for all this anti-S criticism, in which it's saying so much. I'm just not even going to get too far into that, but you can look it up yourself. Marco Rubio's and these others, they want to hurt you for going against their false narrative. They want to hurt you, in which they are not the Lord's people, and so you just be speaking truth by going against them. This is not to commit murder. I got no problems with that at all, and that's actually a part of the Ten Commandments. But it says in the Ten Commandments, it says not to kill, which that word goes into murder, not to premeditate taking someone's life, because killing can be done righteously, is righteous, when done under the law. It says not to commit adultery or sexual immorality, which they don't punish that here, so why would they even speak of that? And then, speaking of sexual immorality, these are the people that produce the E-files. this can't happen. It's just the hypocrite being the hypocrite, basically. This is not to steal, more of the hypocrite being the hypocrite. That's why the Lord's going to let his chariots, his flying rolls, enter into the house of the thief. He's going to cut off him that sweareth by his name, and him that stealeth. He's talking to you, Esau, Edom. This is not to eat flesh from a living animal. And I've heard this explained as back in the day, people they had a whole cow and they couldn't eat it all at once. They just cut off a leg and leave the cow there. In which maybe that is or so, because that is wicked if you're doing that. But I want to speak of this because when Noah got to dry ground, the Lord told him he could eat of all the clean animals. He could eat the flesh of the clean animals. That's when we were able to eat flesh. But these Satanists, which I'm saying that because Satan means adversary, and these people are adverse to the scriptures, to the Lord's ways, they're trying to get you to not eat animals. Which, I think of Klaus Schwab and him talking about eating the bugs and how they've been trying to make bugs into meat and have people eat them. I think that's where that's going, because these are wicked, unjust people, and they're trying to bring their new world order. And then it says number 7 is to establish courts of justice, which is more hypocrisy because these people lack judgment. They suck at judging. But this is supposed to be worldwide, so you can see this is going into their NWO. They want to create courts for everyone. But, the Lord's not going to let this get too far at all. It talks about how when he's about to fill his belly, he'll be struck through. And Lord willing, sooner rather than later. Lord willing. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3. It says, let no man deceive you by any means. So don't let them push these Noahide laws on you as if it's actually biblical. Don't let them deceive you. These aren't the Lord's people. They're hated of the Lord. And they're falling. This is their end. Fear not him that can destroy the body, but him that can destroy the body in hell, or destroy the soul. I butchered that one severely, but actually, let's see if we get that. Destroy. Alright, Matthew 10 and 28. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. And that's not the hell where you go and burn forever. Just a low condition. In the worst of ways the Lord can get you. And that's what he's going to do to these Edomites. He's going to put them down. It's well deserved. They're pretending to be the Lord. They're pretending to be the Lord's people. And they've ruined his whole creation. Polluted it. But, don't fall into their hands. Don't go with their flow. Because we're to fear the Lord, not these basest of men, these frauds, these hypocrites that are going around. Let no man, 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first. And the Israelites, the true Israelites, lost their heritage. Jeremiah 17 and 4. They discontinued from their heritage. And while they were discontinued from their heritage, the Edomites took the Bible and put it on themselves. It's both being the Christians and being the Ish people, these tiny tops. They put it on themselves, and they have a price to pay. took the Lord's land. They've been trying to control the narrative of what the scripts are, but they're completely wrong if they've mixed. It's just all sorts of blasphemy in there. It says, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Jacob's brother. The Edomites, so-called white people, including the tiny tops. So that's why they're catching so much flack right now. And shame. It's because they're being revealed as the sons of perdition. These are the men of sin. Like we just mentioned, they tell you the laws are done away with in Christianity. That's sin. The transgression of the law is sin. These are the people of sin. It's right there in your face. And they've gone around stealing, killing, and destroying the colonizers. With the Ish people, those tiny tots being at the head of all this. Those are the ones that owned the ships, the slave ships. Those are the ones that invented all these insurance companies and really profited from this. And those are the ones that are steering the rest of Idumea into this great destruction that is coming, this great perdition that is coming. Verse 4, it says, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called the Most High. And so they've set themselves up in this position. They've painted themselves into these portraits and pictures all over the world. A picture says 1,000 words. And they've set themselves up on high, like they are the gods of this world. And that's what the scripts call them, the God of this world. Because they are in control, but it's just a temporary time of control. They had a temporary blessing for the fatness of the earth and to rule by the sword, but the Lord is taking that away. He's removing it from them. That's why they're moving quickly and trying to set up their NWO, trying to push out these Noahide laws, trying to push out the MOTB, which is the RFID micro C-hip, as well as the one that they could put into your brain, like the Neuralink and like these other companies, Neo and whichever other ones are out there. They want to push that so they have control over you. That will make you their property, and then Yahweh Shai will have no one to save. But the Lord left a remnant. There will be a remnant. Esau does not get to rule forever. Lord willing, we are of that number. Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. These Noahide laws show that. It's not biblical, but they're like, yeah, this is biblical. No, it's not. Like Jesus shows that. Them putting themselves as the people shows that. Them stealing the land, the Lord's land, shows that. Which they stole it. I'm going to go here just really quick. I wasn't planning on going here, but Ezekiel 36 and 5, just to show these are the ones that are sitting in the temple of the Most High, showing themselves that they are the Most High in every single way that they can. From those false images to calling themselves the Christians, to calling themselves the Lord's people, to being in the Lord's land, to trying to implement worldwide laws that they're saying are from the Lord. This is them. This is them. They are being revealed. You ought to take heed. Ezekiel 36 and 5, therefore thus saith the Lord, power, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea. Idumea is the Greek way of saying Edom. All of them. Even if they look like Africans, even if they look like Chinese people. This bloodline the Lord is against, and he hates Edom. And they are the biggest enemies to the actual true Israelites, the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And prophetically, they would have had them, the Israelites, in captivity, which they did. This all lines up prophetically. This all lines up in the real world. There's no way that those tiny tops are not Amalek. There's no way that the majority of white people are not Edom. There's no way. It doesn't make any sense. I even coming into the truth, I was trying to find any nugget that I could just to see if this was right or wrong, and this is 100% truth. This is the truth. This is the gospel. And these people have to fall for the kingdom of heaven to come up, and they will, and they are. They're slipping. The Lord has set them in slippery places, especially taking the Lord's land. It says, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. They're there in the land, claiming to be the Lord's people. And when else can you say Edom took the Lord's land? When else can you say that? It's now. With 1948, that is what it is. This is what it is. Ezekiel 28. Ezekiel 28 and 2, because they said, how do they say that? Let's see again. It says not to curse God. They see themselves as God. And so you're not going to be able to call them out come November time. But they are not gods. They are actually the basest of all humanity. They lack in morality, spirituality, physicality. They just lack. They are lacking. And the Lord's going to remove them. Thou art found wanton. Ezekiel 28 and 2. Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus. This was originally speaking to the prince of Tyrus, but Edom has put this book onto themselves. So the things of this book are going to come onto them, which it already was, because they are the people of the Lord's curse to judgment. But all the words of this book they will be held accountable for. Even if they think the laws are done away with, it doesn't matter what you think. It says, thus saith the Lord power, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am God. I sit in the seat of God, in the midst of the seas, over all these people. Yet thou art a man, and not God, though thou set thine heart as the heart of God. They believe they are God, and they're going to try to persecute you for calling out their wickedness. The Lord's about to remove them, though. It says, behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. And they're in their time. They're wise right now. It says, with thy wisdom and with thine understanding, thou hast gotten thee riches and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. They've gone around the world stealing, colonizing, taking everything. So they have great wealth. They have great riches because they've stolen everything. Just look at the Ark of Titus. It's just Edomites stealing, running out with riches from the Lord's temple. It says, by thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. They have some very intricate systems that they keep to fraud people. Just look at the monetary system. The FRN notes. It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord power, because thou hast set thine heart as the heart of the Most High. Behold, therefore, I will bring strangers upon thee, the terrible of the nations. And this is what is lining up right now. The nations are aligning and getting ready to make Esau's stink come up. Esau's about to lose so bad in World War III. And these other Edomites, the calamity of Esau is upon them. And America will be nuked. Their power will be completely taken away. Isaiah 63 is about to happen to them. They're done. They're at their end. And it's going to be, great was the fall thereof. Great was the fall of it. This is a time of trouble such as never been before. But these people are so violent, the amount of violence that's going to be used to take them out, we can't even explain. It says, and thus with violence shall that great city Babylon fall. from the nuclear war, the World War III, the fire from the chariots in Yahushai. It's going to be amazing. And then civil wars and all these different wars and skirmishes and people invading each other. This time of trouble is going to be insane, but it's to remove the wicked from power. And the Lord has these nations aligning and getting ready, building up their arsenals to defeat Satan, or to bring down, really to beat up all of them are going to get beat up. Yahushua and the Israelites are the victors, but the biggest loser will be Edom, Esau, so-called white man, including the tiny tops, and wherever they've hid themselves, whichever nation they've hidden themselves. Like you got the house of Saud, is in Saudi Arabia. That head family there, those are Amalekites too, and they just look like they've just bred with Ishmael and taken on Islam. Esau's all around, and he's insidious, and he's got to be pulled out, and there's only one that can do that. It's Yahushua. It says that, behold, therefore I will bring strangers upon thee, the terrible of the nations, and they shall draw their swords against the beauty of thy wisdom, and they shall defile thy brightness. You know, you're not going to illuminate very much anymore, Lucifer. It says, they shall bring thee down to the pit, and thou shalt die the deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the seas. It's going to be a lot of Edomite blood spilled. And their elite are going to get away, only for them to be pulled out of their bunkers and chains slapped upon them. And some slaps too. They're going to get it. And they're going to breed back the rest of Edom. And all of Idumea will be in captivity. This is deserved. This is the faith and patience of the saints. It's been a long road, but we're seeing the light. We're seeing the end of the tunnel, and Esau's fallen. Verse 8, they shall bring thee down to the pit, and thou shalt die the deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the seas. Verse 9, wilt thou yet say before him that slayeth thee, I am God? Yeah, imagine that. Putting a sword in somebody and they tell it, but I'm God. I'm God. No, Esau, you're just a man, and you're the basest of men at that. Your insecurity has gotten the best of you, and you guys are going to go down. Like, only insecure people would push white supremacy. That's a Napoleon complex. That is not the truth. You are the lowest form of humanity, but you got too big for your britches, and you're about to taste it for what you've done. It says, but thou shalt be a man, and know God in the hand of him that slayeth thee. Thou shalt die the deaths of the uncircumcised by the hand of strangers. For I have spoken it, saith the Lord power. Esau is about to be taken out, and it's about to be really just one of the most amazing moments of all human history. The downfall of the wicked. It's coming. We're watching it currently. But they still have more wickedness to bring. So look out for these Noahide laws, and probably even look out for the famine of the word to come with that. And so, Lord willing, that was edifying. I'd like to give all glory, all praise, all honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.